Let's talk for a moment about something some people have noticed that they call the Black Sun agenda. Um, it's difficult to ascertain what exactly that might mean in terms of the cultural information that they're attempting to convey, but it sounds very much like it's got something to do with neo-Nazis, in which case it's obviously not good. You can rule out it having any positivity whatsoever on that basis alone. So, Black Sun agenda, esoterically, is a different argument from Politico one. On a Politico's perspective, the Black Sun agenda would probably include things like the rounding up of the forces and the troops to develop very much a hard right logic within MAGA, or what they call MAGA in the United States of America, the Proud Boys, the KKK, people like that, all getting together and stirring people up for a long time using 4chan and whatever else, Reddit or something like that, to get people to be stirred up towards Daily Stormer style propaganda until they've gone from being mere conservatives to outright fascists, and then straight up Nazis. The sort of radicalisation of people in the United States of America would have been produced by what you would call a Black Sun agenda. You'd assume it had anything to do with Nazis, which, by the way, it does. The Black Sun is a Nazi symbol, as it turns out. Another unfortunate piece of information that got learnt was the number 1988. As it turns out, is not the year 1988. It's 19HH, because H is the 8th letter of the English alphabet, and apparently that means Heil Hitler. So that's a bit disappointing that those particular phrases don't refer to, say, a year and, say, Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun. By the way, there's no implication here that Soundgarden was anything other than a grunge band. There's no reason at all to believe for a single second that Chris Cornell and his friends were some kind of neo-Nazi band in disguise, because they were not. The song Black Hole Sun does not refer to anything that resembles Nazism. It's more of a sort of a disgruntled, sardonic, grungy account of culture using dark imagery. It doesn't actually refer to anything that you would ascribe to be of that particular ilk. So Black Hole Sun and Black Sun is not the same thing. They're quite different. Even though Soundgarden probably did become a band in 1988, just as a coincidence. On that subject, the Black Sun agenda is probably a reference to a general trend for the right-wing radicalisation of people in predominantly Anglophone societies, specifically in the United States of America, towards classic neo-Nazi crap. When it comes to the cult side of things, we'll just go straight into cult territory. The cult that you probably would like to look into is probably the cult of Odin. It's not to say that all practitioners of 21st century variations on Nordic paganism automatically have racial hatred in their hearts, because they don't necessarily, but there is a tendency in what's called the cult of Odin to be associated with gangs in the United States of America that have had some kind of affiliation with, if not the actual Ku Klux Klan, but similar like-minded groups, if that makes any sense. And so that cult of Odin is connected to the idea of the white power idea, and a mistaken idea that Germanic nationalism in Nazi Germany was associated with paganism, which superficially you can see why they might say that, but if you look deeper into it, it couldn't be further from the truth. It was a bit different from that, although they did use some runic symbols, and in some cases out of place. They did also engage in their own form of what's called German Christian nationalism as well. So there's a sort of a theme going on of Christian nationalism, the cult of Odin, the KKK, the Proud Boys, and so when you're looking into the Black Sun agenda, you need to look to the difference between traditional Nordic religions, Frigg, Freya, Odin, stuff like that, and what's called the cult of Odin. What you also need to know is that in that cult, they don't have an eye of providence, and they don't have a multiverse theory either. So the cult of Odin doesn't have the mystic Kabbalah, if that makes any sense, or the eye of providence. They do. The original Nordic religions did have a tree of life symbol, but it wasn't specifically associated with Sephiroths, which are not actually multiverse theories. So typically, Cult of Odin has no association with multiverse, and Cult of Odin has no association with Eye of Providence. So if any of you out there have detected them interacting with such ideas, not to say that Kabbalah is about multiversal principles, unless you're using the New Age version of the term multiverse, which refers to multiple people's heads in their particular cult symbolism, you'll probably find that their traditional cultural boundaries prevent them from accessing those particular things, and they're more likely to adopt a racist version of Wicca, which involves a variation on the horn god and triple goddess idea. And their idea of triple goddess is drastically different from Tripura Sundari, and is drastically different again from Cernunnos, and is based again on a 1950s cult associated with a man named Gardner, who was an aficionado of Thelema and a contemporary of Aleister Crowley, albeit in his later days. So for those of you out there who are interested in beating those psycho sons of bitches, there's some information for you. That's all that's available.